Good evening, everyone. My name is Muhammad Ali, and I welcome you on behalf of CAPSA, Coalition of Americans for Political and Social Awareness, at the platform of International Art Society. And we are thankful for the International Art Society to provide us the venue to do this program here. Nature of the program is of a virtual nature. You don't see a lot of cameras, but you are being watched from every angle. And this program is a nonpartisan program where we invite our Republicans and Democratic nominees and leaders for the local offices and the judiciary, where they have a chance to give their message to the community why they should be selected and elected to do this service to the community. For the SAM Syntax, since we are a nonprofit and we don't fund any activities, we try to use public platforms to do that. So what's going to happen today, then I will go over this today numerous times so we can understand the syntax, that what you see here and what you say here does not stay here. It is going to go out, and it's going to go out till the election day and after the election day. From the platform of International Art Society, Basit Jalili Saab and your team, thank you so much. It is being live broadcasted right now, and then it will also be shared at CAPSA's Facebook page, and from there to CAPSA's membership and the general public. So this is going to keep on streaming, where you'll see shortly Mr. Naim Raj and Afzal Abbasi, who are representing CAPSA here. They will be posting this right now from International Art Society's page to the CAPSA's page, and then it will go on further. So this is a virtual setup. So your audience is essentially in the homes right now. You have some audiences here as well. But when you're speaking, make sure that you're giving your message to the masses. And we will start this program in the name of our Creator, the most merciful and gracious. And before we open up, we have to always thank those who provide beautiful opportunities for the service of the society and the community. And that is no other than the International Art Society. On behalf of International Art Society, I would request Tazeen Zahida to come up to the podium in a short while. And Tazeen Zahida is Director of International Art Society. She is also the writer and director of TZ Productions, and she created an Urdu and English theater and performances as well. Actually, in the corner, right behind Judge Tony Wallace poster there, she has posted something that is going to go live in theater very shortly. So let's hear from Tazeen Zahida.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for this opportunity to introduce my organization, International Art Society. On behalf of Mr. Basit Jalili and his team, I welcome you, and may the best man win.
So our main goal is first come, first serve basis. So Judge Robert Rolnick, you got here first, and before I bring you to the podium, I would like for our audience to know that Judge Robert Rolnick is running for the Fort Bend County 458th District Court. He is an experienced and qualified judge. He is a Democratic primary candidate, and this is an important election. Election dates, early voting is February 14th to February 25th, and election day is March 1st, 2022. So let's hear from Judge Robert.
All right, well, thank you very much, and thank you for CAPSA and the other sponsors for sponsoring this event. I am the presiding judge of the 458th District Court, and I'm running for re-election on the Democratic ticket. I've been a judge for 3.5 years. In that 3.5 years, we've handled many complicated civil cases as well as complicated criminal cases. And again, I've been on the bench for this long period of time, and so far, every decision that I've made has not been reversed by any appellate court. So I'm certainly running on Well, thank you, sir. Yes, for your people out there watching virtually, we're getting a little bit of feedback here. So anyways, in terms of my level of experience, as you might be able to tell from my gray hair, I do have quite a bit of experience. As a matter of fact, I'm just looking here. I was licensed in 1977, so I believe that is 45 years ago. So if you add graduating from law school and at about age 26, that makes me relatively old compared to a lot of people. And certainly when I first started practicing law, we weren't using any of this type of equipment. We didn't have any virtual presence whatsoever. And so it's great to be here and then speaking, around the world to the World Wide Web. In terms of my experience prior to getting on the bench, I had a varied civil practice over a period of years. I had an emphasis initially in tax and did quite a bit of tax work, and also did pass the CPA exam, and did maintain that license for several years. When I turned 65, I let it go. So in any event, also did quite a bit of work in the Social Security disability area and veterans work. That was an important part of my practice. I was the actual founder, or one of the co-founders of the Social Security section of the Houston Bar Association. In terms of personal injury and civil litigation, of course, I am board certified, which requires you to do a certain number of trials over a period of years and pass a test. It is a relatively prestigious situation. Only about 2% of the lawyers in Texas are board certified in any particular field. And again, I like being a judge, no question about it. I've been there for 3.5 years, and I running for re-election because I'm running on my record. I certainly work hard. Don't know if I've tried more cases than anybody else. I don't think we keep those type of statistics, but I certainly do dig in and try and do as best I can in terms of doing the work that's there. Not exactly sure how long you're expecting anyone to speak at this thing. Is there any 5 minutes? All right. How long have I gone? I'm not sure. 3 minutes. All right. So I have two additional minutes to talk about the court. In terms of the court, again, this is a what we call a general jurisdiction court in Fort Bend County, meaning we hear both civil and criminal cases. And it is a district court. We have another judge coming up here who's going to talk about the county court. The district court does hear felonies, so it hears the more serious crimes, and of course there's some serious crimes that happen in the county court as well. But we do hear felonies, so we're talking up to life in prison and even capital cases, although I have not had a capital case. In terms of civil cases, again, we have unlimited dollar jurisdiction. The county court does have a limit of jurisdiction, but we have unlimited jurisdiction. And we recently did a case that involved a $30 million, very complicated contract case, involved a $30 million dispute over some cattle. Very, very unusual case, very, very, very challenging case. And also complicated foreclosures cases, et cetera. So again, I'm running on my record. I feel I've done an excellent job. I have the support of most of the people in the county. I've been supported by KP George, actually has endorsed me, as well as Grady Prestage and some other top Democrats. So Robert Rolnick, 458th District Court, running in the primary. Do have a primary opponent, so I need your vote. When the primary voting starts, February 14 and through the 25th, and then the actual primary day is March 1st. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Now comes the fun part, after the clip.
All right, okay.
Couple of questions we'll ask you from there, and I'll sit here since our mic arrangement is here. We want you to get most of the exposure.
Sure.
About district court, these are very different questions, more of information purpose.
Sure.
For our audience. The district court covers just one Fort Bend county or many counties? Just tell us.
Okay, excellent question. The district court, some of the smaller counties do have to double up to get a full district. However, Fort Bend County, due to its size, the district court is it's the entire county, but it is just Fort Bend County. So anything that comes up in Harris County would be handled by a Harris County judge, and anything that comes up in Brazoria County would be handled by a Brazoria County judge. So If you commit a crime in Harris County, it's not my bag. But if it happens here in Fort Bend County, we'll do it. Same thing with contracts or any sort of injury or civil claim. If it arises here in Fort Bend County, that's what I handle. All right.
Another question is, which will also be asked to Judge Tony, so you have an advantage.
Okay.
Is how many cases your docket, because we know our judges' dockets are so busy.
Okay.
They have jam-packed.
Right.
How many cases on a monthly basis do you clear from your book?
Ooh, well, of course that varies. Due to the COVID has changed quite a bit. We probably end up clearing, 100, 150 cases a month, I would think. It's just difficult to say. Now, of course, on the criminal side, they have to end either by some sort of plea or a dismissal or a trial. On the civil side, the secret is setting the cases for trial, and you'd be surprised when that jury comes in. A lot of times, the civil litigants all of a sudden realize maybe they ought to get reasonable and settle a case. So that's just an estimate, but that's the best I can do at this point.
Thank you so much, Judge.
All right. Thank you very much.
So while Judge Robert have, covered very essential points for us, a district judge covers the entire county. County in Texas, and especially when you mentioned cattle cats, you are in Texas and there's no cattle, that kind of doesn't make sense. So that is Texas, folks, for you. The next judge we have that we're going to talk about you a little bit before you bring to the podium, Judge Tony, and she is also seeking a re-election. Judge Tony is seeking re-election for the Fort Bend County Court at Law number 4. She claims that she is an experienced and fair judge, and being in the Art Society community judge, and for both of the judges, is that our platform promotes inclusiveness, diversity, and especially we want to tackle the stigma of racism. And in courts, historically, back in the days, looking at the study and the history of the courts and transcripts of the courts, in the criminal courts and in the family courts, we see that there has been a lot of cultural misunderstanding, sometimes portrayed wrongfully by the supposed victims. So when that happens, our community request from you is to reach out to the societies like the Art Society, get one of our experts on there to validate or invalidate a statement which kind of creates a cultural conflict in your court at law. And Basa Jalili and his team and CAPSA team can be asset for you when you are elected back to your office. With a lot of round of applause, Judge Tony to the podium. All right.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Tony Wallace. I am the current judge for County Court at Law number 4. I was elected to this bench in 2018. Prior to that, I was appointed as the first African-American female judge ever appointed to a bench in 2016, and that was for County Court at Law number 5. Quickly learned that being a judge is a fabulous job. I really, really enjoyed it. Before that, I was in the district attorney's office under the leadership of John Healy. I was an assistant district attorney for 5 years, and during that time, I tried several cases from misdemeanors all the way up through felonies. As the judge of County Court at Law number 4, we have been busy ever since we were elected in 2018. For those of you who did vote in 2018 and voted for me, thank you. I appreciate your vote and your support. And here's what we've been doing since then. When I was started in 2018 in Court 4, I was immediately selected as the administrative judge, which meant that I was the judge that was over all 6 county courts in Fort Bend County. And I was selected by my peers, all of the judges there selected me to serve as the administrative judge, and we got right to work. There was a lot that needed to be addressed at that time. One of the things that we addressed at that time was bail reform. Another thing that we addressed at that time was language access, meaning that we made sure that we had master certified interpreters that were there in our courtrooms and available for every kind of hearing, free. So that meant that anybody that came into our courtroom that didn't speak English as their first language, we automatically got an interpreter or a translator there for them to assist them, whether it was a criminal case or a civil case, to assist them so that they could not feel so intimidated in the courtroom and that they could really express themselves and try to work out their case in their native tongue, which is very important. So we started that language access plan. We ratified it. We actually finalized it. It is now an official language access plan for all of the courts in Fort Bend County. Another thing that we worked on, we really didn't have a choice when COVID hit. I was the administrative judge at that time, and if you recall, it was pandemonium. And Judge George said, we're shutting the county down, and all of the judges were going, how are we going to get access to our courtrooms? Because you shutting down the county, now that means we have people in jail who still need access to justice. We had kids in juvenile detention in the detention facility that needed access to justice. We had civil cases that needed access to the courtrooms. And so thankfully, the Office of Court Administration purchased a Zoom license for every judge in the state of Texas, and we got to work. And the year 2021, I think we did over 450 hours worth of Zoom hearings. That means we were on the Zoom almost every day of the week for several hours a week, just trying to make sure that people had access to the courts. Let me tell you a little bit about what Court 4 covers. Judge Rolnick talked a little bit about what the district courts cover. Court 4 and all of the county courts in Fort Bend County are also general jurisdictions, but we cover 5 main areas. We're very busy courts. First of all, we do misdemeanor criminal cases. So that's Class C, Class B, Class A misdemeanors. I tell people I can't send anybody to prison. I can send them to jail for a year. That's about the most I can do. That mostly means that we are doing driving while intoxicated cases, low-level theft cases, and low-level drug offenses. We also do juvenile cases. Any child between the ages of 10 and 17, if you commit an offense in Fort Bend County, you're going to be coming through my court. So that means I'm seeing all of your kids and your family members and your neighbors and their schoolmates. They're all coming through my court. A specialty court that I have and only in Court 4 is called the Girls Court. That's our core program. What we do is we identify juvenile girls who are at risk or have been identified as victims of human trafficking. We pull those girls out and we counsel them separately. I meet with those girls once a month. We counsel them. We provide lawyers for those girls. We make sure that they are getting the attention that they need so they don't return to that life of trafficking. We try to safeguard them from all of those dangers and the hazards of trafficking. We spend a lot of time with the girls' court. It is something that is near and dear to my heart. I worked as a defense attorney when we first formed the girls' court, and so now it is my joy and pleasure to serve as a presiding judge for the girls' court. That's the second thing we do. Third is civil cases. We do civil cases up through $200,000 in damages. One of the most plentiful cases that we do are condemnation cases. Those are takings, eminent domain. So if you're a property owner here in Fort Bend County and a state agency or government agency says, hey, we're going to need to take an easement of your property, or we're going to take a portion of your property for some public service, and they don't offer you the amount that you think your land is worth, then that case ends up in my court. And we have, actually, when I first got there, we tried a condemnation case. It was a civil case. It took about a week. And it was a taking that was right over there off of 359 in Fort Bend County. Fascinating stuff to me, but I'm a nerd. I love the law, so some people say that those cases are boring. But for the property owners and for the government agencies who are trying to decide on what the value of that land is, it's very important. And so I take those cases very seriously. That's the third kind. Fourth is probate. Probate law, which deals with wills, trusts, guardianships. We are dealing with people who have either died with a will or without. We also do guardianships. Sometimes that looks like when you're trying to take care of an elder, but sometimes that looks like a child with special needs who turns 18 and their parents then need to be able to do things for them legally. We handle those cases as well. Fifth kind of case that we cover are mental health commitment cases. Those are for people with mental health issues who will not voluntarily commit themselves to a facility. We hear those hearings as well. Tell me how much time I've got.
Your time is up.
My time is up. All right. Judge Tony Wallace, my website is Judge Tony Wallace, that's TonyWallace.com. I have a Facebook page, also Instagram. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn. Judge Tony Wallace, Judge Tony Wallace, Judge Tony Wallace. I'm running for Court 4. I would appreciate your vote. Thank you. The fun part, all right.
When sending a person in prison,
Uh-huh.
do you realize that he's not getting punishment, but also the family is getting punishment?
Oh,
What do you opinion about it?
Oh, absolutely. You have to be very cognizant of the fact that when you're dealing with someone's liberty, you're not just dealing with that person, that individual. And I actually came to that realization when I worked as a prosecutor. I was a domestic violence prosecutor for a couple of months. And a lot of times I would talk to the complaining witness, and 9 times out of 10, it was mostly females. And they would say, Ms. Wallace, if you put him in jail, then nobody's going to be able to win the money for my household. How is my household going to make it? I don't want you to prosecute because I need him at home. And my response was always the same. I'm not interested in breaking up your home. I'm not interested in jeopardizing your livelihood, but he or she needs to be held accountable for his or her behavior on that day. And if that looks like he spends a little time or she spends a little time in custody, then that's what it looks like. But if it looks like probation because that's what works out best for your household, I'm okay with that too.
Go to our routine questions, and we allow that question at the request of possibly Lisa. Otherwise, we would have questions going from here, which is good. And Judge, you have covered in detail everything your court does. And you've taken steps to introduce the language barriers that best our community. When you think that's going to go live, where the service is available to your constituents in your district?
The services are live now. We actually have little tabletop stands in my courtroom right now if you walk in. And what we try to get people to do, and it's harder now because of COVID, we don't have as many people coming into the courtroom, but we try to work it out with the attorney so that we know ahead of time if they need a translator. But they can literally, I think it says hello or how are you in 9 different languages. And so all you have to do is point to it, and my bailiff knows. If you're pointing to that, and you're saying to him, I need some help. I don't speak English. I need help in this language. He is on it. He comes immediately into my office and says, Judge, we have someone in the courtroom that needs some assistance. And we have language lines that we use for the immediate. And then I start to work behind the scenes to make arrangements for the next time they come to court that we will have an interpreter there for them.
And I just want to make sure that this is a free service.
It's free.
Thank you so much. Judge.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. While Judge Tony is leaving the podium, the free service that is provided at the court of law for the language, this is a challenge folks see so much, where they spend thousands of dollars on the translators. First of all, they're either justly or unjustly convicted of a crime, and the judge decides on their fate. But before they make it to the judge, they have to go through a police system, which may or may not be racist. They have to go through a prosecutor who may or may not be qualified or experienced. And finally, when they make it to the podium of the justice, that's where they need all the comfort they can get. So thank you so much for providing that. Very good job on the Fort Bend County for doing that. Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, I'll go over the syntax. This is the virtual setup. It is being live. Your audiences are everywhere. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 camera. Maybe I'm a media person. I see 6 cameras recording you. This is going live. We're going to take short breaks in between. But before we do that, we are here, blessed with the presence of one of a very involved community member, Kaisar Q Imam. And before I invite him to the podium, he is seeking to be elected to the treasurer of the Fort Bend County. Before I bring him up, since you just walked in, our setup is of a virtual nature. This is being aired live. This is going to be shared on the International Art Society webpage, then from there to CAPSA, from there to all the members of CAPSA. So this does not die today. This is going to keep on going. So our goal and our syntax and the protocol we are following here, that what you are currently doing and what you will do in the future for the treasurer office, that will benefit this community here in Fort Bend. And then we have 5 minutes When you see me sitting on that chair, your time is up. Thank you, Kaisa Q Imam. Big round of applause.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. A very good afternoon to everyone here. It's good to see familiar faces. It's good to see new faces, and I'm sure there's a lot of faces online that are looking at this as well. Can I just say that I've been to many events, and I don't know about you, Judge Wallace, but I don't think I've ever seen an event where they actually have the lights set up for the speaker. This is going high tech. I'm very impressed by it, by the way. My name is Kaisa Imam, and a lot of people know me by Q as well, and I go by both names depending upon which environment I'm in. That's why I had to come up with a name on the ballot, and it was Kaisa Q Imam. I live here in Sugar Land. I've been blessed to raise my 3 kids with my wife right here in Fort Bend County. I was born in Multan, Pakistan. I grew up in Lahore. I did my high school in Lahore. And after graduating from high school, I came to college in States, and that was in 1987. I went to school in Ohio, a very small liberal arts school, which, gave me a wonderful education. And this was, by the way, pre-internet, pre-Google, pre-FaceTime, right? This is when some of you may recall when you could only talk by setting in that 3 minutes trunk call, which you spent half the time just saying, can you hear me or can you not hear me? And then you're like, time is coming up to an end, so say whatever you need to say. That's what we spent 4 years in college. But, I was blessed to be around with wonderful friends and so forth. So after graduating from the College of Worcester, I joined Price Waterhouse. At that time, it was PW, not PWC. It's a premier, actually, at that time, it was one of the big 8 accounting auditing firms. Later on, we merged with Coopers and Libren and became PWC. That was, again, a fabulous, fabulous experience to work with clients. My main clients were actually in the public utilities sector. So a lot of electric, gas, water companies, were our main clients. Fast forward, a lot of you are familiar and remember the Enron debacle. After that, it was required for all these big audit accounting firms to split their consulting parts. And that was to make sure that there was no conflict of interest where an auditor was bringing in all these. So IBM came and IBM bought PwC Consulting, and we overnight became part of IBM Global Business Services. So same clients, same work, but for 28 years, I had the honor of working at PwC and IBM. And in 2018, I took a little backseat and I started basically contracting back to IBM because I want to do several things here locally in Fort Bend. Couldn't travel that much with family and so forth. So that's as far as a professional experience. I'm running for a position that perhaps not a lot of people are familiar with. So with your permission, if I can just spend a few seconds to explain the position. Judges we hear and see all the time because they are literally, no kidding, they are in our faces, right? Telling us, what's happening and so forth. The treasurer in Fort Bend County has a very well-defined role. And the role basically in the simplest terms is that the treasurer is the banker for the county. Any county, basically, if you think about it, raises money through tax collection, different types of taxes, and then spends money. The 2 main functions, right? But while that money is with the county, somebody has to be watching it and making sure, just like a bank would make sure, whether your money is coming from your business income, your paycheck, or wherever, right? It's going to be in the bank. And when you take it out and you spend it somewhere, the bank is not going to say where you're spending it. But while it's at the bank, to keep it secure, liquid, or to get any type of return that you're looking for, that's what the treasurer is making sure to do that with the county money. Now, just to clarify a few things, because I get those questions all the time. The treasurer does not decide what we're going to tax and how much we're going to tax. And I wanted to clarify that in case you guys were getting ready with some questions about your property taxes or anything like that. The treasurer also does not decide where the money is going to go and get spent. The commissioner's court decides and the budget office comes up with a budget. But the treasurer is making sure that once those decisions have been made and that money is now coming in and the money is going out, that it's being accounted for It's being, it's transparency. There's systems in place that are telling us exactly what our position is, how much is in cash. The 80 plus banks that deal with the county, they are doing their job. So hopefully that clarifies the treasurer position. So if you notice, my 28 years with PwC and IBM were all about making sure that from a process perspective, from stakeholder management, from reporting, from using systems, whether it was designing, implementing, or making sure that those systems were performing their functions that the businesses wanted. That's the background I'm bringing to the job. But let me finish this by stating, well, Q, why you then, right? So there's one thing that this is where it applies to the community. The treasurer job, if you really dissect it, let's be very honest with you. It takes tremendous dedication. It takes time. But based on our understanding of what this job entails, you have time to actually be in the community and help our small businesses, our youth. What am I talking about here? So let's think about it. If there are 80 or so banks that are wanting to do business with the county, right, which is great, all of them bring value to the table. Those banks should be asked to, through the local chambers, through organizations that we know, have very well-defined forums and information workshops to tell our small businesses, how do you get ready to apply for a loan? What kind of financials and statements you need to make sure that you have this year, so next year when you're getting ready to expand your business, you have everything together. We don't want them to come and apply and then find out, oh, I don't have this, I don't have these papers, I should have kept those records. So we need to make those banks work for our community. Because remember, the more successful the businesses are, the more the tax revenue that comes to the county, right? So it's not just like community selfless service. There's a selfish reason why we want the businesses to be successful in the county. So that's one. Second, now that I see him walk to the stage, the second that's very important is that a lot of these resources should be in the community teaching what I call financial literacy. What does that mean? That means that our youth, as they're getting ready to graduate from high school and college, should be given some very fundamental lessons in a way that they can understand how to manage my financial life. We teach them bio, we teach them physics, we teach them economics, but we do really teach them when should you apply for a credit card? How do you get a car loan? How do you balance a budget? What do you look for when you get overcharged or something? So once again, a treasurer can do those type of things because you have access to those resources. I'll stop here because I see you up here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I have a project in my mind a little bit. If I don't get the question right, feel free to input it. Fort Bend County Business Initiative promised $5,000 grants. They have not come through. And are you aware of that?
I am not aware of the fact that they have not come through. Are we talking about they haven't gone through as in started, or they're just not gone through all?
You want to ask a little bit more about that?
Yeah, please.
Hi, thank you. I was one of the people who took that initiative program, and when we started out in, I believe, May, it was said the program was for 3 months, and it was said that the grant will be awarded at the graduation 3 months later. From May, we are right in February, and we have not heard much about it.
Okay.
I'm so glad you asked that question. Now, that question is for the Commissioner Court.
Yeah.
But Kessler, maybe offline, since you are going to be, if and when you're elected and making it to the office, getting those calls. And thank you so much for the question. If you can follow up with the Commissioner Court on her behalf, that'd be great.
Absolutely, because anyone can follow up with the Commissioner's Court. That's a great point, and that's exactly what I'm talking about, that we need somebody in, at least in the Treasurer's office, and that's what I can speak from, right, who can actually make sure that these things are getting followed through. But I am not obviously an elected official right now, so I cannot answer that question, but based on Vice Hub's recommendation, we can definitely follow up because that should really have been.
Thank you so much. One question I have is, you spoke about the youth from the Treasurer office. When you make it to the Treasurer's office, what are some of the initiatives in your mind to practically involve the students from the colleges in the Treasurer office? Because a lot of these offices are unknown to our students.
Absolutely. So there's two ways we can do this. The first is a very structured, formal way, which is you look at the office positions and you want to make sure that if there are positions that are suitable for our college graduates when it comes to, again, as like assistant treasurer and so forth, we want to make sure that when these positions open up, people know about those positions, and it's not maybe a handful of people who are just applying and just getting through it. So that's number one. But the second, which I think is a lot more potent and a far wider reach out, and something that Judge Wallace has done and a few other judges have done very effectively, is give these youth an opportunity to rotate through the office as interns. And this is where they can actually get tremendous visibility into the functions of Treasury, and as well as, remember this, get exposed to these vendors that are working with the Treasurer's office. And we're talking about major banks. And so it is possible that they may find one side of the equation, as in the Treasury office, may not be as exciting, but when they look at what Chase is doing when it comes to management of the funds, that may, ignite a flame in there. So those are the two ways. The first one, it's a limited scope. There's set number of positions in the office. As I mentioned, because of the scope of Treasurer's office, it's not like they actually are doing money management at a massive scale. But the second one actually opens many more doors for them down the road. So those are two things that I will, on record, commit to that. And we have a track record of Democratic leaders who have done this. We did not used to see this in the county, where they are bringing in youth, letting them get exposed to the offices and office roles, and they're doing wonderful now, law schools and so forth. So same thing can be done in the Treasurer's office.
Thank you so much, KSQ.
Thank you. If I can just say, it's a county-wide position, so anyone in Fort Bend County can vote for the treasurer's position. Anyone in Fort Bend County. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Another round of applause for you. Appreciate your in-depth explanation of what the county treasurer office does. Bajwa Sahib, in about 2 minutes, we're going to go into a break if you want to prepare for that, for the live session. And during that break, we will have a picture session here with those who have already spoken. And that's why, in the world of media, nothing is set up useless. You just find out later, right? So before we go into the break, Judge Robert, Judge Tony, and KSQ Imam, if and when you do make it to the offices, we do request the impartiality, inclusivity, and honoring all cultures of United States of America. That is what makes us strong. That is what makes us a nation of strong folks who challenge our own. And again, these organizations like International Art Society, CAPSA, we are at your expense once you make it to the offices. When there's a cultural awareness clarification needed, when there's a talent hunt needed, when there's an intern that you want to put through your college and you are having difficulty finding out, please reach out to us and we can definitely arrange that. Let's go into the break, Bajwa Sahib, and then that's it. We are in break right now. The live session is in break. You're not being live streamed. We're going to take a picture. If the candidates can come up and then stand right here on the stage, and some folks can come up who want to take a picture. We're going to take a quick picture.
But I promise you I was making stops. And
So Judge, this program syntax, I want to be fair to you by explaining to you that everything is being recorded. So whatever you say here today does not stay here. It's going to go all over the web. It's a very professionally put together program. And thank you so much for coming in. You have 5 minutes time, and you're welcome. And after that, you have 2 questions, just general questions, not to penalize you. Go ahead. 5 minutes.
5 minutes. That's 300 seconds, I guess. I tell you, you all pretty much know me. I mean, and thank you. And this was not my intention to come late, but I'm making stops, and this is maybe 4th or 5th place I'm so far. And it's an honor and privilege to be here. And I am out there too. That's why I'm wearing all this stuff, because, block walking if I had to and things of that nature. But I tell you, Fort Bend County is a better place. Because 4 years ago, you all gave me an opportunity to be the top elected official in Fort Bend County. And after that, county was blessed, and I was blessed with a lot of eventful situations, managing COVID, weather situations and snowstorms and all those stuff came in the middle of all that stuff. And we were able to, look at these things and manage it, diving head on and caring for people of Fort Bend County. And we are one of the fastest growing counties in state of Texas, in the United States, most ethnically diverse. And when it comes to managing COVID, maybe everybody is so much interested in knowing. Last week we were checking, we are number 2 in state of Texas when it comes to 500,000 population and more per capita basis. Fort Bend is in a much better shape and state than many other counties of our size. And we came, and our biggest problem is not having enough real estate or single family home to sell. More people wanted to move it to Fort Bend County. And if anybody is in real estate, I'm sure they're happy these days, and so God bless you. And the other day I was in one event in George R. Brown Convention Center. Somebody came to me, he's in commercial real estate in Fort Bend area. And he said, man, it's just, that construction site, construction cost is pretty high, but it's continued to grow, continue to move forward. Why? Because people see how our community is prospering. And, where do you want to start your business? Where do you want to open your shop? Where you could sell your product or whatever that is. And Fort Bend is that place. And when I got into that position, 185 years, 86 years of Fort Bend history, I'm the first person of any color elected to serve as the county judge. And I had one thought in my hand, or my thought in my mind, saying that, God, give me an opportunity to serve one of the most diverse counties in the country. And I'm so much close to my faith. And I said, God one day asked me, maybe, what did you do? This opportunity was given to you. And I took and ran with it. And especially, I tell you, because I am in office, we have a youth empowerment program. We have a leadership program. We have a summer paid internship program. We have a rental assistance program. We have a utility assistance program. And we have a mortgage assistance program. We have a daycare voucher program. And we have Get Hired program, which is actually paying our employers, a bonus. They can give it to a new employee because there is a shortage of employees. And then we started Opioly Texas program, which is actually restaurants were struggling in the beginning. So we paid restaurants to cook and give it to people who don't have food. And at least 2 restaurant owners told me because of that program, they're still in business. And so why I'm talking about rental assistance and utility assistance to a business community, because my goal is to create stability. And no business want instability. No business want, oh my God, what is happening? I don't know. I don't know what is tomorrow look like. You're not going to invest your money in that condition, and bringing stability. And that is the reason why we are continue to thrive. And I tell you this, I was at a senior citizens event, Indian senior citizens event recently. One lady came to me and said, Judge, I'm so happy what is going on in Fort Bend County. I live in Spring, Texas, and I wanted to know that I'm moving to Fort Bend. And so I'm just saying, there's so much happened last 3-4 years in Fort Bend. And Fort Bend always been doing well, but we took and ran with it. And because simply we wanted to make our community continue to feel good. And also I tell you, the way we are empowering our young people. And I give you one example. I have a young employee. Her name is Shireen Khwaja. She come from Ismaili background. She came to our county judge's office in 2019 as an intern. And 6 months ago, we hired her as a full-time employee in Fort Bend County. She went to school with my middle daughter. And that kind of an impact we are creating our young people's life. And Fort Bend is now known in this region And you could Google what is going on in Fort Bend or Fort Bend County Judge's Office. We are literally, because simple reason, how do we manage to become number 2 instead of Texas when it comes to vaccine administration? Or even talking about 97% of our senior citizens are fully vaccinated in Fort Bend County. Why? Because we care about our seniors. They made us who we are. And we wanted to make sure the least we can do is caring for them, bringing them together. I conclude here. I tell you, I was standing in front of one of our vaccine location in January of 2021. And this, seniors, they both, I casually know them. The lady came to me and held my hand and she started crying. And I'm like, oh my God, what happened? You didn't get your vaccine? She said, yes, I did get my vaccine, but I lost one of my best friend to COVID. And she said, today I have hope I could enjoy my grandchildren longer. I could spend time with my children, my community more. So you give me hope. And that's what we give it to our people. And I went inside and told our people, you know what? Always remember, you're not just giving a shot. You're giving hope of life. And sadly, we lost more than 1,006 people in Fort Bend County. And my heart and soul goes out to those who lost their loved one. But we did everything possibly we can do to support and help our community, hold their hand, walk with our community, those who are scared. And when you're 70, and this lady was saying, I'm 76 or something years old, I'm scared because my friend just passed away. But we don't let you go like that. No, we care about you. You're the one, you're my uncles, my auntie, my parents, and my neighbors, and so we cared about them. And that kind of care, we brought it to our citizens in Fort Bend County. And that's what we continue to do that. That's I promised, and I believe. And also we realize some of the pockets in Missouri City and Richmond and all, they are not getting vaccinated the way everybody else is getting vaccinated. Then we went and got a mobile unit where we could take that unit to where they are because they don't have transportation. And we went to their houses and went to their community and vaccinated them. Why? Because we care about people. Fort Bend is better. And I could talk a lot of stuff, our mobility, our, building more roads and, drainage, flooding issues. We had a bond and we are doing all that stuff. And one of the number one reason I ran for Fort Bend County, as Fort Bend County Judge in 2017, I don't know how many of you remember, we had Hurricane Harvey. And many people in Riverstone, I remember people, I used to live in Riverstone at that time, people in that community said, Judge is asking us to get out of your house. Where do we go? And he said, you need to, this is the time to call your grandma because you could go and, stay with them. But the sad thing is most of these residents don't have their grandma here. 30% of Fort Bend residents are not born in this country. And they are you and many of you. And we came here, call it home. And so that's what emergency management was one of our top priority. And when I went to Fort Bend County, we didn't even have a good emergency management building. And I tell you today, I had to fight all these 3 years. Today in March, next month, we will be opening a state-of-the-art emergency management building for not just us, even for our children. It's going to be there. And it's going to be serving and caring in case there is an emergency situation. And we talk about transparency. And 2 days ago, we had a big event where we unveiled body camera. And it is about transparency. It is about safety for our officers, so safety for our citizens, safety for anyone who engage in any kind of unfortunate situation. But we today have a state-of-the-art body camera, and the vehicle is equipped with one of the state-of-the-art technology-driven system. That was a fight for 3 years. 3 years. And I'm so glad we worked with District Attorney Brian Middleton, Sheriff Eric Fagan, many of our constables and people like that, and that has become a reality. And I know that we have two judges in the back. They will appreciate, because when the case go in front of them, they could make a better judgment because they have evidence.
So since your time is up,
I know. So did you say 50 minutes or 5 minutes? Please.
one of the short and sweet question is, you have shared a lot of good things that had happened in the past 3 years. And, you know, re-election is coming up. What is one driving force for the next 3 years for you?
Oh, it's very simple. Hashtag moving Fort Bend forward. Very simple. We started a lot of things and we wanted to continue that. And another thing about it is, and because I stand up, and my father taught me a long time ago, when you believe something, you do your homework and make up your mind. Once you make up your mind, you stand and fight like hell. And that I did in many, many cases. Today, and I tell you, I don't know how many of you paid attention to Fort Bend County redistricting. And in many levels, for the Congress, for state representative positions, state Senate, and also Fort Bend County Commissioners Courts. And today, and I don't know you know this, there is a Congress seat in Fort Bend, which is 200,000 Asians were curved out of that seat because somebody named Sri Preston was getting very close to winning that position, but now there is no possibility. And the Asian population was divided, especially South Asian population was divided into 4 pieces in Sugar Land, those areas, so that you don't have collectively no say in moving forward. But when it comes to redistricting in Fort Bend County, we did redistrict in a fair way. Today in Fort Bend County, we have an Asian Opportunity District, we have an African American Opportunity District, we have a Hispanic Opportunity District, and also a White Opportunity District. That's what Fort Bend County is. We are the most diverse county in the country, and so we did that. Because of that reason, I am a special target. They wanted to take me out, which is fine, and they could do whatever they want, but my point is, we started a lot of, what is our goal? To take the power back, to go back, not moving forward, go back. That's the very reason why we need to move forward, and for the sake of our children and our next generation. And we wanted to, we celebrate our diversity. We had our first Islamic Art Festival in that courthouse. We had our first Latino Heritage Month in November, and now we are celebrating African American Black History Month and Diwali and all those. We are celebrating. This has never happened in the Fort Bend County's history. Never happened this. These all good stuff we wanted to continue.
I'm afraid to ask the next question because it will take 5 minutes.
When good things, yeah.
Beautiful celebration, but we are also sometime asking, depending on what we see in the county, where we as folks can see some more pledge. So we are asking for you, when you make it to the office, to pledge a little bit more budget than what you currently have in mind for the burden of the court cases on our judges, so they can clear their docket and they can have a work-life balance. Will you pledge for that?
And I think, how do we, which are the judges here? Let me ask you. Do we work with you guys or not? So that answers the question, because, their success is our success. And there is no reason, there is Judge Wallace and Judge Rolnick here, there is no reason not to support these people, because their success is our success. And we always stood by. And also I will tell you, it's important for me to win, because one of the things is, many times we allocated resources to these judges, whether it is an associate judge or other resources, it was always a 3-2 vote. 2 Republicans and 3 Democrats. Always it is a 3-2 vote. So that's the reason why, answer your question, we are already doing it. We will continue to do it. They are our friends, and their work is simply part of our work. And so there is no reason not to support them.
Round of applause for Judge. Judge, have a seat right here. We'll invite the rest of the candidates. Please come over here.
Okay.
Nate Rasa, do you have any remarks to give before we conclude again for the judge? Please come.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. I would like to thank all the candidates and the attendees to make it to this event. Even though it was only a few days notice, we didn't have enough time to plan and publicize the event, but still it was good enough to say that we were not that successful because we had invited Republicans and Democrat both, but for some reason Republicans never showed up. So, which, yeah, so, but at this time I will appreciate especially Judge KP George, Judge Robert, Judge Tony for coming, and Sir Q Imam for participating in the event. And CAPSA will be actually doing some other programs where we will invite everyone to participate from both parties, but we will spend some more time to work on our this event. So thank you for coming, and I appreciate your help. And CAPSA is always there to help you out for your election. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nate.
So at this program, coordinated by CAPSA, Coalition of Americans for Political and Social Awareness, I would like to welcome Dr. Suleiman Lalani, who also likes to go by Dr. Lalani. He is running for Texas State Representative, HD District 76, and his message is the right prescription for Texas. Dr. Lalani.
Thank you and welcome everybody. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm blessed to be with around all this good leadership and good people around. I'm running because our current leadership has failed us. I'm running as a physician to meet and talk with our current leadership and talk on real issues so no Texan has to go through this darkness and freeze again. I'm running to expand Medicaid and make sure that healthcare is affordable so no Texan has to end up in the emergency room because they can't afford or can't access healthcare. I am running to make sure that we bring good health policies and infection control policies in place so no parent is scared or afraid to send their children to school. I want to make sure that, as a physician, I have spent my 25 years in practice and I have seen the human face of our healthcare system failure. What I mean by that, we have the world's largest medical center in our back of the woods. Not the Americas, it's the world's largest medical center. And who's who of the world can fly in America for treatment, but our own people cannot do it. If I say, how many of you know somebody, some senior who's rationing their medication, 30-day supply, pushing to 40-day supply, because they can't afford their diabetes medicine or heart failure? How many youngsters do more than 2 jobs, cannot afford health care? So we need to be more proactive in America because we're spending the highest number of dollars in the world as a country for healthcare, but our results are nowhere near that. We want to make sure our public education system is fair. Texas is right now number 44 when it comes to public education funding. And that's the biggest root cause of our public education failure. We need to make sure that we increase teachers' pay. We need to appreciate and retain quality teachers. We need to make sure that we improve the quality of the buildings that they are in so they have a safe environment to study. We need to make sure that we focus on education curriculum and give the power to the teachers who belong and who knows their children. We need to make sure if we want to bring testing, the STAR testing, and spend dollars on it, make it diagnostic. Do the testing in the beginning of the year and see where the child is lacking, and then groom the child throughout the year so he can not only take the paper degree in his hand, but has the creative mind to lead us for tomorrow. So I want to make sure I'm running for healthcare and I'm running for education, economic recoveries, COVID. If COVID has taught us anything, that we cannot build walls around our houses and presume that we are safe when our neighbors and community is not. We are all in it together. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm running for fair representation that we don't have. Our community right now doesn't have a seat on the table. That's why we are on the menu. It's high time that we run for this. This particular district that I'm running on is a Democratic district with 21 points. I'm on a Democratic ticket. This is a minority opportunity district, a book picture that we always call. We have 33% Asian here. So this actually seat is carved for Asian Democratic leadership. Please don't take my words for granted. Go do your own research. Look at your candidate, research your candidate, and I ask you, request you for your vote and support. Let's be part of the history together. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for beautiful words, Dr. Lalani. Appreciate you. Wish you best of luck on your election. While I go into CAPSA, Coalition of Americans for Social and Political Awareness, and I tell you more about it, right before I do that, I would like to have some words of wisdom from our own president, Dr. Humayun, just to share some thoughts with us and bless our efforts with his leadership in CAPSA. Dr. Humayun, please.
So again, I welcome all of you on behalf of CAPSA. For those of you who do not know what CAPSA is, it stands for Coalition of Americans for Social and Political Awareness. And our purpose is to provide a platform for particularly communities who are minority to come together and be aware of their social responsibilities as well as their rights. In addition, they also are being politically educated so that they understand what their rights particularly are in this field. The beauty of democracy is such that you can choose to have a representative present your point of view at the corridors of power, and so you can self-govern. And therefore, it's very important for people to understand who they choose as a representative and whether their aspirations, their goals, and their wishes are congruent with the wishes and the aspirations of the candidate. And once you recognize that candidate, then it's your job to make sure that your voices are heard by going out and voting for that candidate. Our job here and our purpose is to raise political awareness by bringing you to a platform where the candidates openly mingle with the general public so that they are aware of what the candidate wants or what he stands for or she stands for, and whether those are again in consonance with what you believe or what you stand for. So that's one of the purposes of CAPSA. Some of the other activities that CAPSA has been indulging in or active in are social activities. For instance, at the Klein High School, they've contributed towards a playground that has been formed. In addition, in the 5th ward, which is one of the poorest wards of the city, we have gone ahead and contributed in various projects, including medical projects, where people volunteer and establishing clinics for people of low income as well as low opportunities. In addition, we have other social activities where we go and feed the homeless or clothe the homeless, and that has been done, I'd say, about 3 to 4 times already, despite COVID being active. And we aim to increase these activities as COVID restrictions become less and less, and as COVID gains more, as we gain more control over the COVID situation. So I would like to thank everybody who came today. It's been a pleasure hosting you all, and we hope that we'll have more participation next time, and that we'll have a broad spectrum of candidates from various corridors and various divides, so that they're representative of what the parties stand for, and for the people who come here to understand what those candidates stand for themselves. Again, thank you very much. God bless you all.
Since everybody is here, program is being compiled. It's going to be on International Art Society's website. From there, it's going to be on CAPSA's Facebook page. Kesar Saab, if you can join us here too. And then from there on, this is going to stay till election, and it's going to be shared. We're going to end this program by our leaders clapping for you guys. Go ahead. Thank you so much. May God bless.